All right. What is up, everybody? This is Olin back with another episode of MMA Anomaly, aka the MMA Anomaly Show. And this is No Filter with Ian the Juice Miller. And in a moment, his buddy is going to be joining us as well, Aiden the Future. So,
What's up?
We are going to be talking about UFC 280. This is a post-fight show. Yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into it, man. Let's start at the bottom. Let's start at the bottom and work our way up.
Where do we start again?
Let's start at the main card for now.
Okay,
so,
thank God.
Manon Fiorot versus blonde fighter Caitlin Chukagian.
Little shocked by that fight, to be honest, because I thought Caitlin was uncharacteristically more aggressive, I guess you could put forward-footed.
Sure.
However you want to put it. But yeah, I was a little shocked. What were your thoughts?
I would agree. I think that she was definitely more forward-footed. She was trying to put the pressure on, but it was in very weird ways. Her entries didn't make a whole lot of sense and points of the fight, especially considering who she was going against. Like, Manon is a very talented Muay Thai fighter. And the way that I just felt like she was almost entering kind of like the way that Korean Zombie was entering against Alexander Volkanovski. You're moving forward, but like, to what extent is it actually doing you any good? You're just pretty much eating damage when you're moving forward. And
I also think that, like, in regards to that, like, she wasn't getting, like, kind of adding to what you're saying. She wasn't getting her head offline, which is obviously a big issue in this sport, right? Because, like, we have kicks. Like, you know, like in boxing, you're fine getting your head offline and whatnot. Like, you can be a little on and be fine to majority point, unless you're fighting Deontay Wilder.
He'll take your head clean off.
Yeah, he'll kill you.
I completely agree. And like, in this sport, like, you have to cut an angle when you come in, and she was not cutting angles at all. Like, she was just completely front back, just straightforward pressure. There was no angles being cut. When there was angles being cut, it was her opponent. I thought it was a great performance for Manon. And I mean, who do you think she fights next?
That's where I'm like kind of shaky. Where she was what, number 4 or?
She was number 6, and
6?
Caitlin was number 1 or number 2.
Okay, I mean, do you give her the title fight, or do you try to build her name in just a tad bit more by giving her like a main event or something, or like a fight night main event?
Yeah, I don't give her the title fight just yet. I think maybe you give her a co-main event and then you give her a main event. I don't think she's.
Is, who's your main event? Who's your title fight?
So I don't. So I don't give her a main event. I give her a co-main event first, and I think she could definitely co-main event against Jessica Andrade. I think that'd be a fun fight. And I think she is booked. Who's she fighting again?
She is fighting Lauren Murphy.
Oh, winner of that fight.
Okay.
Winner of that fight versus Manon, and then after that, then you headline her against the champion.
I got one for you, actually.
Okay.
How about her versus Alexa Grasso, since she wanted to wait one more fight?
I'm not mad at her fighting Alexa Grasso at all, actually.
Same.
I think that's actually that'd be a great co-main event. That could even be like one of the mid-year like fight night main events too.
Exactly. In the Apex.
In the Apex. Yeah, that'd be an Apex main eventer. Yeah, I'm not mad about that at all. Let's see. I feel like there's some other really good matchups, but I think that's probably the best matchup for her. Yeah. I think Alexa Grasso is definitely the best matchup for her. And then what about Caitlin Chukagian? Like, does she just keep playing the role of gatekeeper?
Yeah. Hold up. Can she go up or down too is the other question. Because that adds a little, spice. Everyone likes a little spice every now and then. Look at what they did with Miesha Tate.
If she could somehow go down, that would be crazy. I don't think going up would be good for her, though. I don't think it'd be impossible. I think if she could go down and have like a really good weight cut going down, she would probably be a beast and carry a lot of her power down with her.
I agree. My thought process on that was more, add a little spice just to your name, like, right? Like, you keep your name relevant, you get better fights.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You got to keep grinding. You got to keep on fighting big name people. And, you know, like if you can go up or down in weight, like you said, it adds a level of spice to the topic and that
Exactly.
creates relevance for you. So yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to see her fight anybody up a weight class or down a weight class. Otherwise, like I said, she's just going to keep playing the role of gatekeeper here. She's really good. She's better than anybody outside of the top 6. And she's never going to beat Valentina. It's just how it is.
No shame in that game because
no, I mean, like that's 98% of the roster are never going to beat Valentina.
Mm-hmm.
And that's only because like, and I would say 100% of the roster are never going to beat her, but there's like that puncher's chance or that kind of unknown factor of there are women that could get signed tomorrow that could come in and be like, oh fuck, she's the one, dude. She's the Neo of this division. Like,
real talk.
But we just don't know. So, okay, moving into the next fight. This one was definitely an exciting one. We had Benny from the block going up against Mateusz Gamrot. Man, Beneil Dariush looked fucking amazing. He looked really good.
Display of perfect defensive wrestling with transitional jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And then obviously
I thought he killed it.
Being on the front foot.
Just like constant pressure. It makes me really wish we would have gotten to see the fight between him and Islam. Obviously, and there's definitely still a chance. There's even more of a chance now. I think that would be a fan's delight, a grappler's delight, just because Islam has nonstop, constant forward pressure. His grappling seemingly is second to none, and Beneil, when he goes out there, when he turns on the grappling, again, seemingly second to none. There's not many people that can really stop his onslaught of forward pressure. And at the same time, like you said, like Mateusz usually makes it look pretty easy to get people down. I think he shot double-digit takedowns and landed like 2, 3, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he shot like 20 almost.
Yeah,
maybe
it was
more.
Bad. It was bad. Like it was worse than Peter Yan's takedown percentage, and his was under 50%.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
It was bad.
I mean, it was just a display, and who saw that coming? Really? I mean, you know, like granted, obviously he's a master of the groundwork, but who really saw that coming?
Absolutely. You're talking about the Beneil Dariush fight, right?
Yeah.
Like honestly,
that defensive wrestling coming.
The defensive wrestling, as I like to call it, like the wrestling negation skills, like he completely negated anything that Mateusz brought forward. And that left hand was disgusting. Like, just the loudest left hand. It sounded like thunder in that arena when it landed on Mateusz's face.
And he shook it off.
Yeah. Like, the fact that Mateusz like ate that and kept going, both those guys are studs. And I love that John Anik called out, I forget who it was that said, you know, Mateusz is very young in his career. John Anik pointed out, he's like, you know, so is Beneil Dariush. He's only a year and a half older.
That's the crazy thing. I thought he was so much older.
It's all the gray hair, dude.
Old.
It's all the gray hair he's got, and how long we've also been like seeing him inside of the UFC. Like he's been fighting top level opposition for what feels like forever. A long time now. Yeah, forever. Yeah. Like,
and you know what? Like his game works for him. That's the coolest part about him. His game works for him. And it may not be the prettiest. I'm gonna switch inside of my car so I can plug my phone in the charger because Aiden locked me out. But
all good. What a dick.
Yeah, real talk. So like his defensive wrestling was on point. His striking was on point. Like it was literally the perfect fight for him, and that's why I'm so happy for him. I've got.
Oh, you're cutting out.
At his gym.
Lost you. There you are. Sorry, I lost you for a minute.
I had the pleasure of getting working with him a couple times over at his. He owns Kings Anaheim.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a super cool guy. Like it's cool just to see someone put it together like that, and just have a perfect performance. It
was beautiful, honestly. Like some of the funnest, like, and I hate calling them casual fans, but it's what they are. Like, it's not, when I say casual fans, I don't mean it as an insult.
Facts.
It's just, it's a generalization, right? Like, if you casually watch MMA or you're casually getting into MMA, you're a casual fan. There's no insult from me. It's just, it's what it is. Like, and I know when a casual fan's watching, when they see that left hand land and they hear that thunderous fucking pop, that's what they want. That's what they love. That's what's like enthralling for them. When I saw Mateo shoot for a takedown, like it was like a blast double, and instead of just like straight sprawling, Benny kind of laid back with it, backflipped, scrambled, and rolled, and got like what I like to call the big brother position, pretty much, like where you're like getting ready for the bulldog choke. Dude, like he made it look so effortless, and casuals watching don't understand how hard that is and how insane that is when you're not only like, you're not doing that against like somebody throwing a dummy at you and you're like manipulating this lifeless thing. Somebody's trying to push back and work against you, and you're basically ragdolling them by using their own forward momentum. It was just
100%.
beautiful to see.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to take note of too is for like the casual fans that have never gotten a roll, or you've never gotten to, like, you know, gotten in the gym. And once again, no shame in the game, right? Like, if you enjoy what you enjoy, right? So
Yeah, if you
like,
enjoy watching it and you never want to train, that's totally fine.
it's cool.
Like, I always tell people, I recommend you try one class because you don't know if you love it until you've tried it. And also, even if you go to one class, from that point on, it literally just, for me, it feels like you're like watching chess to an extent, because like you understand it. Even if you've only felt the position one time, if you've been triangle choked one time, that's all it takes. You're like, oh, I know what that panic feels like. That's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, no, 100%. Another thing to take note of, like what I was going with that essentially is, for them, is like the stamina it takes to scramble like that for rounds on rounds, even one whole round, freaking 2 minutes of scrambling. That's insanity, and especially
Exhausting.
for that weight division. That is what blew my mind, because
Yeah.
Even another great fight that was kind of high paced like that involved Gamrot versus him versus Sarukian. Absolute madness of a fight. Madness.
Tons of scrambling. I loved that fight.
Yeah, it was just a great
Loved
display
that
of
fight.
MMA.
That was a razor thin fight too.
100%. And I'm a Sarukian fan, so
Same. I actually thought Sarukian won. I was trying
too.
not to say that because I maybe was a little bit biased, but I mean, either way, like that's one of those things where it was so close. I wasn't mad with whoever got the decision.
Agreed.
And you know, moving into the next fight, like this is definitely going to get me some flack, and that's okay. Sugar Sean O'Malley going in against Peter Yan. I know our MMA group chat on Instagram, like I was getting flack for siding with Sugar Sean in there. Sugar Sean won the first round. I thought he won a very close third round. Again, if you're sitting on the judges table,
third round I give to Sean.
and granted, I could see how you could give the first or third round to either guy. I, however, scored it based on the 2019 rule changes for Sugar Sean. I thought he did more damage, and then also, like, all bias aside, I don't like either guy, be completely honest with you. I've never been a Sugar Sean fan. I've bet against him in 3 out of his 4 last fights. This is the first and only time I've ever put him on my DraftKings. And I thought he had a puncher's chance. I put him on because he was cheap. And Peter Yan, also, I've never been a huge fan of. I think that for all the Muay Thai talent he has, he stands very flat-footed and has, honestly, horrid footwork in comparison to the rest of the division he's in. A lot of these other guys, they dance circles around him and they make him look slow. And like, I get that he has a patient and waiting style, but it just, for me, it looks like a lazy style. And Sugar Sean actually kind of exploited that tonight. He was moving around him. He was utilizing the distance. He was landing the bigger shots. And when I looked at the stats, as far as significant strikes landed, I think he outlanded him by like 34.
Yeah, I mean, to your degree, I agree on some of those points, but I had first and second going to Jan, and then third going to Sean. I just thought stylistically it just showed the cracks in Sean, obviously. That obviously if you chop him down, that he's stuck there to a degree. And the pop has kind of gone once again to a degree. Obviously, depending on if you land in the right spot, they're going out. It is what it is.
Absolutely.
But I personally think that Jan just overpowered him, showed prowess. While the striking may have been close, you go to the next thing, which is octagon control, which he had, and then
No, absolutely. Jan had octagon control. Jan had total octagon control, and he also had, I think, 5 minutes or like five.
Over.
I think like 5 minutes and 40 seconds or something of top position control time,
which you have to put into a factor when it's such a close fight on the feet or damage wise. We'll say, for example.
But let me ask you, if somebody outlands by like, and mind you, there wasn't a ton of significant strikes landed. I think it was like 54 to 86 or something like that. In favor of Sugar Sean. So let me ask you, if somebody outlands somebody in significant strikes by 32, and the opponent who has that deficit of 32 has 5.5 minutes more control times on top, but they missed on half their takedown attempts, and when they did have top position, there were 0 submission attempts, and they literally landed 6 strikes across that 5+ minutes. Like, looking at the actual live stats, I mean, that's the thing, like across all 5 minutes of top control, and this is just like purely what I looked up from the stats, Peter Yan landed 6 ground strikes. And he landed 6 of 13 takedowns. Sugar Sean is not the grappler, and he landed 1 of 1. I thought that was pretty damn
That was an impressive shot on a side note. No one saw that coming.
That was like a Daniel Cormier, like shoot in and circle out. Like the way that he did it, I was like, he can do that? Since when?
All of us at the house were like, wait, what the fuck?
Dude, I almost spit out my food. I was like, what the fuck? What just happened?
I didn't see it coming. He got me.
Yeah, that was an insane shot, and the entry was perfect. Like, just obviously his opponent didn't see it coming either. So we can definitely agree to disagree on that one. Again, like I'll be the first to tell you, like, I'm usually not a fan of judging just in general. And I will also be the first to tell you when I think that there has been a robbery that's taken place. I don't think it was a robbery. I think it was a very close fight. And I think in probably half of the people that watched its eyes, the judges got it wrong. And that's okay. It happens.
Yeah.
I think we could, like you said about the Armin Sarukian fight, like if they run back that Armin Sarukian versus Mateo Scamrot fight, I think it goes like 5 times for Armin and 5 times for Mateos. I think we'll probably get similar results if we ran this back 10 times.
Possibly, yeah.
Like, I agree with everything you said. I think in the clinch, Peter Yan had his number. It was nasty. The control was disgusting. When he was on top, again, it was very hard for Sean to get up. But like, I'm very unseasoned, and I wouldn't say I'm a good grappler. But if I get on top of you and I'm stronger than you, chances are, if I'm not trying to submit you and I'm not giving you any openings by trying to submit you, you're going to have a hell of a time trying to get up. And that, I think, is what we really saw. Like, he was on top of him and went with the wet blanket approach, which a lot of times people say that kind of stuff about like Khabib and Islam. And if you watch their fights and you've ever grappled, you're like, no, they're not a wet blanket. Like, they're a wet blanket with like stones wrapped in it that are like getting slammed into somebody's face.
Yeah, you have a wet blanket that's hitting you for some reason.
Yeah, you're like, what's happening? This is supposed to be built for comfort.
Yeah, real talk.
So yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing them run that fight back, but let's say if they don't run that fight back, we're going to play matchmaker.
They've already said it.
Are they going to run it back?
No, they already said that Sean's get the title shot.
They've confirmed? Oh my God.
Because they said it before the fight.
Well, I take that with a grain of salt. And also after the Aljamain Sterling fight, like Aljamain was talking shit to Cheeto. Cheeto's already responding on Twitter, telling him he's going to put the whole bag of Cheetos in his mouth. Like, there's very weird tweets going on right now between those guys. All of Twitter is going to be very toxic for the next few days. And that's okay. I'm here for it.
And I'm here for it.
Yeah, I'm here for it. But I wouldn't mind seeing Sean get a chance for the title, because if I'm being honest, like, probably one of the best chances he has at getting it, because I love Aljo to death, but his fight IQ isn't the best in the world, and his ego will be his worst enemy going into that fight, because he might be dumb enough to just stand up and be like, yeah, I'll stand at range and see what happens. You don't want to do that with Sean.
No, I don't think he's going to do that. I don't think he's that dumb. But let's put it to the test. Come on,
I mean,
Dana.
like he realized your boy had a shoulder that was popped out of socket, and at one point he literally stood at range and was like, I'll let him try and land with it almost felt like he's like, I'll let him try and land with the other hand. And TJ popped him like twice, and then he's like, fuck that, I'm gonna shoot in.
He's like, you know what? Forget that.
like he has an arm that's out of socket, like shoot in. Don't even stand with him. Like, not trying to be a dick, but if it's me, I'm shooting in, and I'm doing the opposite of what DC said. DC said attack the Kimura on the hurt arm. I'm attacking the Kimura on the healed arm. Yeah, because you can't defend it. What are you gonna do? Yeah. I'm gonna fuck your other arm up.
Beautiful transition into the next fight. I have to give you credit where it's due.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
That was like, props to you. If I wasn't holding my phone in one hand, I'd be giving you a round of applause. But
cheers.
Yeah, seriously, Shlanta. But going into that TJ fight, I mean, obviously it was an injury from before the fight. In all camp, as he stated in his post-fight interview. It's just an unfortunate event. Like it is what it is. Kind of like Tom Aspinall when he fought Curtis Blades. You just have to say it is what it is, and then move on to the next thing, because TJ's. I mean, I'm assuming he has to get surgery. Correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't talked to him about it or anything like that.
I mean, I would assume he's going to have to get surgery. He said it started popping out back in April or something like that, right?
No, he said he blew his shoulder out. What the fuck? And that it's been popping out because he blew it out. He's just to give my personal perspective from knowing him, he is the toughest competitor I've ever trained with in my life. Doesn't matter what.
Do you know the extent of the injury? Like when he says blew it out, like is it his rotator cuff? Like
I hope not his like labrum, because that's what he got fixed when he was not fighting for the 2 years.
And that's something that like any kind of shoulder injury, like A, it's one of the easiest groups to injure, and B, when you injure it, it's very, very much more susceptible to recurring injuries in those areas.
Yeah, no, 100%, especially when it comes out of socket.
Yeah. And the fact that it came out of socket and he fought for like 7 minutes, 8 minutes with it like that, like
insane.
It's not a great feeling, and it's not a good look. I can't imagine how a doctor would feel watching that, because me, as someone who just like, I understand body mechanics, and like I have a messed up shoulder because of like training and working bridge construction when I probably shouldn't have. Shoulder injuries are the worst in my opinion. You don't realize how like much you use your shoulder for. You use it for everything.
Also, knees, I think, would be the other one.
Knees are horrible. You know about my knees. My knees are trash too.
Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. I don't even want to go into it.
Yeah, knees are not fun either. But like, I really hope that it doesn't take him out for a long, long time, because he just got back from being out for a long, long time. And I feel like we didn't even really get a fair shake of seeing what he looked like after coming back.
Or Aljo even. It wasn't a fair shake either.
I felt bad for Aljo, because like Aljo, here he is, like, and I said this again in our group chat, he's trying very, very hard to be like the good guy. He's trying very hard to be like a good champ, fighting anybody they put in front of him. Like he's not dodging fights. And I feel like he can't catch a fucking break.
Maybe he needs that Sean fight just to catapult him, like we were talking about. Maybe that would be the thing to make him the marketable star that he wants to be and the UFC wants him to be, or at least they hope he'd be, just for the fact that it would make them money.
Well, Sean is undefeated. So, I mean, if he could hand him his first loss, that'd be something.
If I was right next to you right now, I'd be giving you a smack on the back of the head for that statement. But I know exactly you knew that was, that would get me.
He's mentally undefeated, man. The school of Sugar Sean O'Malley states it. I mean, jokes aside, he's never been knocked out. He's like, that counted, I think, as a TKO because it was like a stoppage due to his leg. We've seen that happen. Like that's something that's almost unavoidable. Like if you eat that shot,
stoppage.
It's a doctor stoppage. There was no check.
Man.
So like, honestly, he's never been knocked out. I feel like if Aljo could knock him out or even submit him, like
that's
a decisive finish.
Because Sean has one of the best jiu-jitsu coaches in the game. I don't think people know this. He has
Really?
Pino Mendez, who's an ADCC winner and like an absolute savage jiu-jitsu player, who was also in the UFC at one point. So like, it's a game I want to watch. Basically, is what I'm gonna say. Do I think like he? I think it's just a shit show that would be fun for entertainment value.
I agree.
I'm here for it.
I 100% agree. I think it would be a hell of an entertaining fight. I think it would, it would probably be one of the somehow best and worst pressers we've ever seen of all time.
Exactly. The most corny jokes, like everything you never wanted, but like whatever, it's a fight and let's get bought.
But somehow knew you like everything you never wanted to see, but somehow never knew you would love as much as you do. Like it's like when Chael Sonnen first came around. I never knew I wanted the WWE style like talker, and he did it so fucking well. And I feel like when you get those really cringy jokes, sometimes they land. Like I feel like what was like one of the dumbest jokes that like really got me to like belly laugh. I think it was Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor 1. They were like, there was like a black backdrop. It felt like it was rushed. It felt very poorly produced and like rushed and put together, which everything about that card was short notice. And Conor was like talking about, he's like, you know, where are you from? You're from Stockton, middle of nowhere, California. And fucking Diaz was like, who you train with, man? You're over there playing touch bud in the park. Dude, get your team versus my team. My team will fuck your team up. Dude, I don't know why that shit made me laugh so fucking hard because it just felt like something an elementary school kid would say like, oh yeah, get all your friends. Dude, I'm gonna get all my friends. My friends are gonna fuck your friends up. My friends are way stronger than your friends.
That's like my dad would beat your dad up.
Dude, that's exactly what it felt like. It's like, oh yeah? My dad's a fireman. My dad would kill your dad with an axe.
Bruh.
Like, I swear, dude. I don't know why some of those lines that are genuinely not meant to be as funny as they are land the best.
No, 100%.
Nate Diaz is full of those lines.
Yeah. Well, I'll leave it at that.
So speaking of the lightweight division, jumping into before we even jump into the main event, we got to figure out like real talk. We got to talk about TJ for a second. What's next for TJ? There's going to be a layoff.
Who knows? Like, it's easy to talk about it now, but that's the landscape of right now.
Sure.
Let's say he gets surgery 6 months off, just per example, right? They're gonna fight. He's gonna have another fight in the meantime.
Yeah.
The division is not gonna just stay stagnant. So it really depends on what happens in the next 1 or 2 fights of the championship after.
Let's see.
But I could see him for Piotr maybe eventually.
I mean, I actually wouldn't mind seeing him against Piotr. I think like right away, that would be a little bit much. Coming back from a shoulder injury like that, I don't know. I feel like
a tune-up.
See, I don't like the word tune-up because then that's kind of insulting to the other guy. And I don't think anybody in the bantamweight division is worthy of like calling a tune-up, or at least in the top 15. Like all those guys are fucking killers. Honestly, okay, how about... Oh God, you're gonna hate this.
Bring it.
You're gonna hate this. We're gonna bring back the Team Alpha Male rivalry here.
I knew you were gonna say that.
We're gonna go Song Yadong.
Oh no, that's not what I thought you were going with.
We're gonna go Song Yadong. You thought I was gonna go Cody Garbrandt rematch?
No, Uriah.
Oh no. I don't want to see that. I think I love Uriah too much, and I would put him on my DraftKings, and I'd lose money, and it wouldn't be fun for me.
He needs to fight Cub. That's what Uriah needs to do.
That would be a fun fight.
And they were talking about it before Cub was going to fight Martinez. So I don't know what happened with that.
But you know what? Uriah Faber isn't ranked anymore. And Jack Shore is just teetering on the outside of on the inside of the 15 rankings.
The 45.
Oh, shit. He did. All right. Well, okay. So never mind then. We're just now we're going off on a tangent about Uriah Faber, and we don't need to do that.
Yeah, sorry, that was my fault.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm a big Uriah Faber fan. Love that guy.
I'd be interested in that.
Yeah, I got 2 fights. I got Song Yadong or Adrian Yanez after he probably ends up getting another win in the time that TJ's out.
See that? Now you're talking business here.
Because if Adrian Yanez gets a win, he's number 14 right now. I think depending on who he fights, he gets another win and he easily becomes like
top 10,
top 10, top 8.
Yeah. outskirts of 10.
Yeah. And then realistically, like TJ fights him, he's 1 or 2 fights away from a title fight.
Agreed.
The winner of that fight.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that'd be.
And I think that's a better
timeline-wise,
stylistic
that makes
matchup for TJ too, if I'm being honest.
Timeline wise, it makes sense.
Yeah. And I didn't like this stylistic matchup for TJ. Like, even if he came into this fight perfect, I don't think this was the best stylistic matchup for him.
I thought it was, personally.
Really?
Just because I've watched a lot of Aljo film, and obviously he dips. And what did he get knocked out with at least by Marlon? It was a left head kick. That is TJ's bread and butter. I mean, like, that switch, we call it a switchblade. That switchblade is fucking incredible. And personally, I like it myself, but, we'll keep that in the TL. But, it's just when you see a guy dip his head like that, you go one way or the other, and it works perfect. So that's where I saw the game going. And his defensive wrestling is great. I mean, even with one arm, he was still defending a bit. So
absolutely.
Gotta give
he looks good, all things considered.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The only reason that I say like he's bad stylistic matchup for him, there's a couple of reasons. And just playing devil's advocate to what you said, yes, the biggest knockout that he's ever felt, suffrage to was that head kick knockout, like that quick sling knockout. But he's eaten numerous head kicks since then. And when he's eaten the head kick since that fight specifically, he's been on the outside of them. And he's learned, instead of swaying like very, very much like the Dominic Cruz swaying left to right, now he actually moves laterally as well. So he's cutting angles. He's moving back into the right or back into the left. So like, I think it was his last fight against Jan. Jan caught him with like 2 head kicks. And both times it was literally just like the tip of his foot just slapping him in the face, which like that doesn't jack shit. So if you're on the outside, like, fantastic. Granted, I talk crap about Jan's entries and Jan's footwork and Jan's like speed of his footwork. And I think TJ is the polar opposite of him. So that would have definitely helped TJ to have those entries, set up those head kicks, and probably land a lot harder and a lot more flush. But I just think that TJ being as forward heavy and pressure heavy as he is, I think he would have probably fell into a couple of takedown traps. Just because Aljo isn't your typical wrestler with his takedowns, and he's willing to kind of pull guard and do those like weird lean back trips. And we saw him do a couple of them on Jan in their last fight. So I'd like to see that fight get run back.
Exactly. Eventually. Same. It upset me. It upset everyone in the house. So, we're already depressed. So let's just get out of the main event before
we'll go on and jump onto the main event. The main event of the evening.
Dun, dun, dun.
We have Islam Makhachev going in against Charlie Olives himself.
I was wrong.
The champ has a name. His name is Islam Makhachev. My God.
That was a display. I mean, just symbols that he was like, listen, I'm all around fighter. Don't forget that. And then he did exactly what he said he was going to do. Connor asked.
He said he was going to submit him.
Where I'm not even just that. He said, I'm going to submit him in the second round. Was word for word what he said.
And bro, I said that like I literally said that like a month ago, and then I uploaded it on like the YouTube two days ago. I did like a quick breakdown on the Islam fight, and I was like, he does it inside of 2 rounds, and he makes it look easy and impressive.
It's just
everything. Everything I described about his style literally happened.
I just don't know what else to say. Oh shoot! Can you still see me?
Yeah. Oh, now I can't.
Sorry.
Oh, now I can. There he is.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, like everything that I thought was going to happen happened for once. Like, and I when I was looking at tape and I was breaking it down, again, Paul Felder beat him. I love Paul Felder, but Paul Felder is not a lightweight champion, and he destroyed Charlie Olives. He got 3 reversals on him. He got a sweep on him. Dude, that was in lightweight. That was like 3 years ago. People forget how recent that was.
Level up.
I get that. I get that. But I get that. But at the same time, those same things worked on him today. Like the same hip toss that Paul Felder hit on him, he hit on him. Or no, it wasn't even Paul Felder. It was Thomas Almeida hit it on him like 5 or 6 years ago. I think they fought at 145.
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
Yeah. They fought each other at 145, I want to say. The dude that wore like the sunglasses.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, no. That's the same
Charles
guy.
beat him and then he stole his gimmick.
He stole what?
He stole his gimmick with the sunglasses.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. You know what?
I never realized that.
It's an homage.
He's paying homage to him. So yeah, like I thought this going into the fight when Charles beat the best people he beat, like, and granted, they're great people. One of them is literally my favorite fighter of all time, Dustin Poirier. And he beat Dustin Poirier, but Dustin dropped him like 3 times. The issue is Dustin wasn't willing to follow him into the fire when he dropped him because, well, if you go into that fire, you might get burned. And we all know that it's very, very possible that you will get burned if you get on top of Charles. However, Islam gets on top of people like Khabib. And whatever Charles can offer up from his back, I promise you, is not going to be scarier than what Khabib can do from his back.
It was impressive, though. I will say he was throwing up submissions, getting a couple, not like fully locked in. But the fact that he got to that point against such a high-level Sambo player, very impressive.
Absolutely impressed by Charles. I take nothing away from Charles Oliveira. Like, honestly, highly impressed with what he did from his back, highly impressed with what he did. I don't think enough people are going to give him credit for how well he did against Islam until we see Islam crush the next 5 people in his title defenses.
And the cage control, too. Like, cage wrestling needs to be viewed as its own art. And I thought his cage wrestling was fantastic. Both ends, both fighters had great. And the strikes from his back against the cage was what really shocked me. The knees especially, because I thought at that moment that Islam would have caught it and just taken him down. So that was the impressive part to me.
He was fearless with those knees when he was in the clinch. And
exactly.
What was funny is like most people, whenever they get into clinch with Charles, they literally like they get the clasped hands and they try and like do the tight clinch. Like, you know what I'm talking about, where you just pull them in close as you can, almost chest to chest, because you're negating a lot of the power and force that they can generate with those knees. But what you do is you're also bottling yourself up. You're opening him up to be able to do trips from the outside, from the inside.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Oh, no worries. Yeah, you're good. But like you're opening yourself up to be tripped. You're opening yourself up to be taken down, basically to be manipulated in a lot of ways. And you can't land any offensive pressure with your knees either, because you're just as bottlenecked as he is. So the crazy thing is, like, when they did get in those clinch situations, Islam literally, like, he'd bottle him up and then he'd let him out. And the second Charles would open up with a knee, you literally see Islam already have his knee raising, like, me too.
Yeah,
he did it like 3 times. And I'm like, I thought it was money, dude. He basically was like planting that seed. And I know you've probably sparred with guys that do this to you too, where like they let you know, like, every time you land one, I'm going to land one too. And mine might hurt you worst.
It reminds me almost like how Thai fighters, where if you hit them with a leg kick, like let's say that you hit them with the outside leg kick, they're going to use that leg to hit your inside. And like
they're whipping it back into you.
I go, you go. Like I'm not going out, like, you know, I'm not going out soft.
So we do games, or we used to at AKA, like when we're doing our Muay Thai classes, we would always do games like that. Like we would spend, if it's an hour class, we'd probably spend like 30 to 40 minutes drilling 1 to 2 combos for that entire 30 to 40 minutes. And then after that, Tomas would let us have fun, and he'd be like, all right, last 20 minutes of class, every 5 minutes, we're going to switch partners. And the game is like, we'd either play 2s or 3s, right? So you'd get to throw 2 strikes, and the second you throw your strike, it's your opponent's turn. They can go right away, or they can wait a couple seconds and then catch you off guard. So it was this really weird, like, cat and mouse, just like you're talking about in Thai fights, where you go, I go, you go, I go. And you're just trying to land. You're just trying to clip somebody with like smart shots. And it teaches you so much about body mechanics and what works. Just like you said, like, somebody lands that outside leg kick, your leg is already getting slapped. Slap them with an inside leg kick with that same fucking leg.
It works
and then when their leg pops up,
as long as you're in close stance.
Yeah, as long as you're in close stance.
Different.
And then, like, but when you catch somebody with that recoil, you saw it happen literally today to Charles when he ate probably the second or third knee that happened with, where the second his knee would connect, he eat one in his ribs. He stopped throwing knees to the body in the clinch. Yeah. He started pulling Islam in close. Like, he's like, we don't really have to play the knee game anymore.
Now, the one question I do have for you is, do you think he quit today?
I don't
he said he would.
I don't think that he quit, and I don't think that Charles ever quits. I think that Charles just like he knows his limits and he knows when he's beat. I think today he knew he was beat. He couldn't finish any of his submissions, even when he had it looked like two of them pretty damn dead to rights, pretty close to being locked in from the bottom. And Islam just scrambled, got out, and I don't want to say he made it look easy, but he made it not easy, but he made it look masterful. Like he made it look like there was a level discrepancy between them. Like if you're playing a dungeon, like an RPG, like you had a level 10 character going against a level 8 character, and it showed. Like it's not a huge level difference, but one guy had a couple skills unlocked that the other guy just didn't have yet, and that's okay. Yeah. Like it was a true display of combat sambo versus BJJ, and at the highest level. I think Charles is a great practitioner of BJJ, but Islam is just probably the best practitioner of combat sambo that we'll ever see. I think he's better than Khabib.
No, I agree.
Like I think a lot of people say that like he's living in Khabib's shadow and like he's the new Khabib. He's not the new Khabib or the next Khabib. He's the first Islam. I think people are probably going to start to realize that in a couple years.
He'll get his flowers when it comes. The real question is, who does he fight next?
That's a great question. I mean, the most realistic fight to make, the most fair fight to make would probably be Beneil Dariush versus Islam. Yeah.
But then Charles.
Let's see. Or actually, you know what? No. Beneil Dariush versus Charles Oliveira.
Okay.
And Islam defends against Volkov. Or Volkanovski.
Volkanovski. Yep. I'm in. I'm so bought in. You have no idea.
Yeah, I think Volkanovski, like give him the short guy.
I think spot on. That's exactly what's going to be booked too.
Yeah, I think it's the easy play. You do both of those fights in Perth.
Respect.
Like Charles and Beneil Dariush are the co-main event. The main event is Volkanovski versus Islam for the lightweight belt. Winner of the co-main event gets the next shot at the winner of the main event.
I was gonna say that anyways. Like, so I'm with you.
And then you do just like as a fail-safe follow-up on like the co-main event of that card. You do like a number one contender spot for the featherweight.
I'm cool
for the featherweight
that.
belt. That way, if Volkanovski goes out there and gets smashed, just like an Israel Adesanya situation, you already have a backup, and his next fight is ready too. They're probably going to take the same amount of damage as he took in the main event.
I'm cool with that, 100%. I like that. Screw these other guys, Mick Maynard and all them. Throw you in. I'm here for that.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. MMA Anomaly, the matchmaker extraordinaire.
Just slide in Dana's DMs like how Joe Silva did.
I'm going to tweet it right now. I'm going to put it into existence.
Yeah, let's see it.
And just in case the viewers haven't noticed, I mean, it's hard not to, but before the fights today, I actually I shaved the mustache completely off, because it's Islam fight day.
No, baby. Jesus.
Let's go, baby. Mary's going to kill me when she gets home.
Oh, she didn't even know yet. Oh.
No, she's doing a beach family day. And here's the funny thing. So I bailed on the beach family day because she knows how big of an event this was for the UFC and for myself as a fan. And yeah, I'm that guy for once. And literally they're Middle Eastern, they're Syrian, like Beneil Dariush. So her cousin that she's hanging out with their family, he texts me while they're hanging out and says, "Hey, what time do you think the Beneil Dariush fight will start? I don't want to miss that."
That's awesome.
So he finds a stream. They're like illegal streaming. And Mare's like, "Our stream keeps crashing. How's the fight going? I need your live commentary." And I was like, "Why don't you just log into my ESPN?" And so they logged into my ESPN and they ended up watching the fights too. And I'm like, I missed the family event so I could watch the fights, and you guys ended up watching the fights.
Shows the level of where the UFC's at.
You know what I'm saying? Fans all over, baby. Fastest growing sport around.
And it ain't stopping anytime soon.
Not slowing down. Not showing any signs of stopping. Well, I don't want to keep you on all day long, so I will go ahead and wrap up. But I appreciate you jumping on, and man, we will definitely have to make this a habit.
Let's keep doing it over and over.
Awesome, man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Ian the Juice Miller, make sure you tune into his next fight coming up. And as always, I'm Olin, aka MMA Anomaly, and thanks again for tuning in, guys. We appreciate you.